were talking about, we're in the book of Hebrews. It's where we were at in Hebrews chapter 2. And in there we were talking about where Paul writing, he was writing to the Jewish converts. And he was saying that listen, we've been teaching you stuff. You've been learning things. And you need to take this stuff to heart, what you're learning. It isn't just a part, and this is what happens with a lot of people, I find. In church, let's say for instance, you have a good church, a church that has a very strong small groups, or and they have all kinds of classes. You'll have some people that will take every class that they can get a hold of. And they'll go from one class to the next class to the next class. And they gain the knowledge. Okay? But the problem is that you can gain all the knowledge that you want. But if you don't put that knowledge into practice, it's really not good. You could, for instance, you can become a permanent student in a college, and you can go to college for the rest of your life, and you can get one degree after another degree and after another degree, and you can continue to go through college with all of these courses and never ever apply anything out of there. Now, you may impress everybody by how much knowledge that you've got, but at the end of the day, who really stinking cares?
Yeah.
What did you do with that knowledge?
Yeah.
Knowledge is not something that you just obtain and keep. Okay? That is the whole aspect of where God is saying to us to make disciples. So that what you do is you obtain knowledge and you pass that knowledge on.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah. in some ways, it is there. And we were sharing, I think I shared with you, that contrary to popular belief, people are out there and they are hungry for the truth. Okay? Even the younger generation, they want the truth. The problem is that the truth that they're getting right now is not spiritual truth. I mean, I'm sorry, but you listen to the AOC on the Democratic side. Okay? She was basically saying that we in America are fascist because we accumulate money and all this stuff. And the problem is that, number one, she's supposed to be an economist. She has a degree as an economist, but she has no clue how to take and put that degree into practice. Because to her, achieving money is bad.
But you really understand it?
No, she doesn't. That's the whole thing. She doesn't understand the commercial aspect of capitalism. Okay? And a lot of people, they want to go into socialism, which basically the government owns everything. And they delve out to you what they think that, you should deserve. And so what happens is you've got a whole group of people out here that are looking for the truth. They're searching, and they're very vulnerable. They will follow and fall for almost everything. They just did a study, and they came out with it this week. And I forget who it was. It wasn't Pew Research, but it was someone else that did the research. And they were comparing the number of faculty members in colleges that were liberals and conservatives. And it was so out of whack. It was almost like a 6-to-1, where it's more of a liberal fascist type being taught. And what you're finding is most of the kids today that are going into school for degrees are going into degrees in liberal arts. They're not going into the fundamental stuff like engineering and things of this sort. They're going into art and psychology and all of these things, which you need psychology, but yet sometimes where they get you thinking is not in the right aspect. Okay, so tonight, what we need to understand, and this is where we need to go, and that is this: when Paul was telling them, you need to hold fast to what you've been taught. Don't waver from that. We've been teaching you the truth. You know that what we're telling you is the truth. We are telling you the exact same stuff that we have learned from Christ. Okay? And we've passed this on to you. And so you need to hold on to this. And this is what I keep trying to tell you. Okay? When people say it doesn't matter what church you attend, they are wrong. It does matter what church you attend. Okay? And it doesn't, and I'm not talking about whether it's a Baptist or what. What you need is a church that is foundationally built, doctrinally built upon the Scriptures. The truth. Not what they think, but what does the Scripture say? Okay? And I know that so many times you get people that say, okay, well, you guys don't hold to the truth because you don't read out of this version of the Bible. You know, this is the only version of the Bible. And I keep saying, hold on a minute. Versions of the Bible are translations of the Bible. You want the original? Then let's go back to the original Greek and the original Hebrew, and let's teach from there. And the problem is we don't speak Greek and we don't speak Hebrew. And the problem is the language has evolved over the ages, just as English evolves over the ages. And so what do we have to do? You have to go back to get the meaning of what it was. And also understand there are some constraints in there. For instance, there were customs that we don't have anymore. But yet he's talking to people in contrast with that background. How were those people living? What were they going? What was going on? You know, what was the social aspect that was there? And then you understand exactly then what he's talking about. But what we're going to talk about today is this. And if you got your Bibles, let's go back to John chapter 13 and verse number 17.
If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them.
Yeah. Look at that. If you know these things, you're blessed. How?
If you do them.
You do.
Yeah. So let's say you've got a whole bunch of the Bible knowledge and you don't practice any of it. Then you're not going to be what?
Blessed.
Isn't that what he's saying?
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, I don't think he's pulling any punches. So if you know to do these things, then blessed are you if you do them. And like I said, all of the knowledge in the world is worthless unless you put it to practice. It's like the same thing working at the factory. They can tell you how to run that machine all day long. But if you never push the button, I don't care how many books you know. You can know how to take and put that thing together and tear it apart. But if you never ever start it, what good does it know? And so this is where people don't understand. Knowing, I hear people all the time saying, I want to be blessed, right? Don't we?
Yes.
And I hear people all the time say, I have no idea why I'm not being blessed. I could tell them why they're not being blessed.
Wake up in the morning.
Well, yeah, waking up in the morning is a blessing. But getting through the rest of the day blessed, there are ways to get blessed during the day, guys and gals. And it isn't sitting around on Facebook and social media, in our houses, in our doctor's offices. It is, but it's this. For instance, and this is what I keep trying to tell y'all. Go to a doctor's office. What do?
Sit and wait.
You sit and wait.
Amen to that.
And wait some more.
And wait some more.
Talk to somebody maybe.
Exactly. Maybe. You want to know that you can go to the doctor and be blessed? I could care less at the doctor if it takes me an hour and a half to see the doctor. If there's somebody else in that waiting room that I can talk to.
You start talking and usually you can't.
And I will tell you something. You sitting in the doctor's office, they will start telling you their problems.
Everything. They will tell your whole life's history.
And by the time you get done, you're going to feel really blessed because you don't have that many aches and pains.
It's true.
But you know what? In reality, all they wanted was somebody just to talk to. You never know how much that person could be so lonely.
That's their only time out is the doctor's office.
Yep.
A lot of times.
Can I tell you what did Jesus do? A lot of times we think that all Jesus did was just teach. No, he listened. Remember, he says he always looked with compassion on the people. And looking with compassion also meant that he was hearing what they were saying. And then he began to speak to them, share with them, pray with them. Have you ever been in the middle of a doctor's office and praying with somebody? And you walk out of there, and I don't care how much that doctor's office visit cost, because I got blessed by sharing a moment with somebody that was hurting. I've run into certain cashiers at the store. I always, I shop in the same places. And then over back at Ridge, where I'm at, where the new one now, got a cashier. I can be 3 lanes over, and the cashier will turn around and see me and say, "You need to come over here so I can get a smile." And they smile when they see you coming. And it's like, I'm not famous. It's just, you know how to talk to the people and just to share with them, just a moment. I'll let other people go in front of me so that I'll be at the end of the line, just so I can spend a couple of minutes talking to them. I'm in no hurry. Diana gets mad because I'm gone too long.
2 hours for
You know what?
But
Sometimes that's the beauty of it.
But to know what the purposes in life are and not to do them is not blessed. I go back and In the book of Thessalonians, is it chapter 2 or chapter 3, where it says pray without ceasing? I think it's 1 Thessalonians. Is it 3? It's just what I would call bullet points. Okay? Somebody go there and find out. I think it's 1 Thessalonians chapter 3. It says pray without ceasing, and we may be getting too old, Jose. We know it's in Thessalonians. We know it's there in the Bible. Anybody find it? Okay, Google.
I just about did.
About praying constantly.
Okay, is it like 2 or 3 words?
It says pray constantly.
Okay, and then
Joyce always pray constantly, give
That's
thanks
it.
and everything, for this is God's will for you in Christ
Yep.
Jesus. Don't stifle the spirit, don't despise
Yep.
prophets. Okay, it's chapter 5.
okay, chapter 5.
I never found that.
First Thessalonians chapter 5,
5.
16,
Through 18.
16 through 18.
I rejoice always praying that way.
Okay, now you think about this. And then we have the other one that basically says, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together, as some is, especially as you see the day approaching. Okay? So that is a purpose. And people don't understand. One of the purposes of a Christian is to go to church.
Yeah.
And it's not just church building. It's going to church so that you can fellowship with one another, or ministering to one another. Because you think about it, somebody, and I was sharing, and I put the post out on Facebook because this is the first, this Christmas has hit me harder than any other Christmas. It just, for some reason, I was watching some stinking movie.
Hallmark movie.
It may have been on Hallmark. I don't know where it was at. It was something about Christmas, and it just triggered a moment. Okay, and you know, y'all know I'm dealing with my mom and all of this stuff, and this was even before we got our gifts, and I always got a pair of underwear and handkerchiefs.
No.
Every year. I'm talking about after I got grown.
Yeah.
Okay?
Those this year, didn't you?
Huh?
You missed that this year.
And this year, for some reason, that hit me like a brick. That I wanted that gift. More than anything. And so we're sitting there at our house and we're opening up gifts with our kids and our grandkids and all this stuff. And I'm sitting over there trying to, I'm still going to try to keep my composure. I don't know if I can. We had, I was sharing with somebody, we had one of those Harry Potter Christmases. The kids, our grandkids, the younger ones, were all into Harry Potter, and they needed some pajamas. So we got Harry Potter and superhero pajamas. I found Harry Potter socks, and so we wrapped them. And as they were getting their gifts, and somebody would hand them to them, and it was rolled up. My older son Tim was the one that started it. He says, "I know what you got, underwear." Okay, and they all started laughing, and it was funny, you know, to them, but to me it wasn't funny. To me, every time they said that, it was just a tug of a memory. And every year they ask me the same thing. what can we get you for Christmas? What can you get? And Charlie called me that day, and she says, Dad, I have no clue. We are at a loss of what to get you. And I said, you know what? All I want is time. I said, what's some time? So what I got was a card. And every one of them wrote something in it, and I'll remember that more than anything else. Because I'm coming to the point in time in my life that the things that are important to me is time.
Yeah.
Just time. I don't need any material stuff. Because every bit of the time is a memory. And that's why I say to you all that the time that I share with you makes more memories. And those are the things that I look for, is the time. And people don't understand that, what they're missing when they come into church and everything. I like the tears and the snot.
Tears like him.
I know it's but it is. And I think as we get older, we realize how precious that is, because you can't go back and get it over. And that's what I was trying to say, this morning, is as you get to the end of the year, you start reflecting a lot and saying, okay, what did I do this year? What did I accomplish? Who did I touch? How many more friends have I made? And those are the things that are important. It isn't what you've accumulated, because all of that can go up in a heartbeat. But friendships are what last. Those memories are what last, and that's what he's talking about. Is that what we need to start doing? Is start putting into practice what we've learned. Because if we don't, the question arises is this: what's going to happen with the next generation? It's coming behind us. Most of us are older, and we cherish these moments together. But we've got a whole society right now that doesn't even talk to each other. They're wrapped up in screen time. They have no communication skills. They have no personal skills of interaction, because I really don't need any. I can sit in my house and I can, I don't have to go shopping. I can shop online. I never have to go to a store to meet anybody. The delivery person that delivers my package, I don't have to talk to them. I can get my food brought to me and delivered. And it's just, hey, thank you, and here's your tip, and go about your way. And so they don't understand the preciousness of relationships. And that's what Paul's talking about, is that the stuff that you learn, you don't keep it to yourself. You share it. And that's how we get blessed. It's like, I hear people all the time say, man, you post more than anybody I've ever seen in my life out there. Yeah, but you don't you don't read the comments. Or maybe you do. Maybe other times you say, I can't believe it. What are you doing? I mean, and you don't understand. I post in spurts. I spend maybe about 5 minutes. I'll get on 5 minutes, I'll do something, and then I'm off. And you know why? That's my downtime. I'm in between something, and I just need to regroup for a minute. And social media is a real good place to regroup your thoughts. You either get mad or you get happy, you know. So you just got to do this. But in there, 6 o'clock, most of the time it's 6 o'clock. It may be about anywhere between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll do two things. I've got a prayer and a devotion that I'll post every morning. And you know what it feels like when somebody says, hey, thank you, I needed that this morning. I needed that to start my day. That's a blessing. And that's what I'm saying. You don't just take what you learn and keep it. You share it. And that's what he's saying. What you see, what you're learning, what you're doing, you practice it. Don't stop it. And someone said, you practice what you preach. Remember when the disciples were having a hard time praying? They were praying, but the prayers weren't going anywhere. And they've been watching Jesus. And I think that some of their prayers was kind of imitating Christ. They may have even said some of the same words that they overheard him saying because they saw that his prayers were going somewhere and they were doing something. And they said, Lord, can you teach us to pray like you? Why is it that we don't see the same effect? And he says, here, when you pray, pray in this manner. I can only imagine the first time that Peter touched someone that was deaf. And they heard. Or someone who was blind, and all of a sudden the whole world becomes open to them and they can see. Or when Peter and John was there at the temple with the guy who was lame. It was asking for alms for the poor. And they said to him, silver and gold we have none, but in the name of Jesus, get up and walk. And all of a sudden the guy gets up. He ain't walking, honey. He's running. He's doing the Pentecostal holiness dance. And I could just assume that some of these guys were saying, you need to stop that. We don't do that in this church. We don't do that. We don't do that in this synagogue. Everything's got to be done in decency and order. And he's saying no. But he says, if you know these things, he says, blessed are you if you do these things. I hear people all the time saying, I want to be blessed. If you're not being blessed, it ain't God's fault, it's your fault.
Sure.
Because we aren't practicing what we've been taught. Easiest thing to be blessed with is share it, what you learn. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse number 15.
See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise.
Okay. Philip's translation is a kind of a paraphrase. And let me give you what he says. Okay. It says, live life with a sense of responsibility, not as those who do not know the meaning of life, but as those who do. And that's what he's saying. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. A wise person knows what's the meaning of life. I keep going back to kung fu, with grasshopper. Was that David Carradine? Who was always asking, Master, what is the meaning of life? And he kept trying to get him, do this, do that, and all these things to help him to understand. A wise man knows what the meaning of life is. A fool doesn't know. And how do we become wise?
Reading the Word.
Yeah, that does. But what starts us on this path of wise? What a wise man built his house on a rock. The meaning of life, being a wise person, knowing the meaning of life, the meaning of life is Jesus. What did Jesus said? Jesus said, if you know me, he says, I'll give you life. Life more abundantly. Okay? So he says, okay, so the wise and the fool, he says, doing the things not as those who do not know the meaning of life, but the ones who do. Okay, so the fools don't know anything about it, but live life with a due sense of responsibility. And this is the thing that some people don't get as Christians. They think that they are only responsible for themselves. You're responsible for your growth, okay? But I'm responsible to help you grow. I'm to give you the Word of God to help you. Break it down. Help you understand. Give a foundation that you can build upon. That's all of our responsibilities. This is the aspect of making disciples. Okay? Helping to teach them what's being said, learning from there, and then they go on from that. Jesus, if you go back and look, Jesus didn't teach them everything. He gave them the Word. But he said, listen, I got to go away so that the Father can send another comforter to you. And he will what?
Teach you all things and bring in remembrance.
He will teach you all of the things. The things that I told you that you didn't get. He's going to teach you those things, and he's going to bring them back to remembering. Okay? So I'm going to tell you some stuff. I'm going to relay some stuff to you. I'm going to give you some stuff, and you're not going to understand all of it. Okay? But you're going to start understanding little tidbits of it. And those little tidbits, it's to me, I like to compare it to almost like Legos or Lincoln logs or building blocks. Okay? I can give you the Lego. I can give you the block. But you've got to put it together. And that's where the Holy Spirit comes in. Okay? So our responsibility, your responsibility, is to gather up what it is that you know, live it, and give it away. Don't hold it in. And that's how you become blessed. The greatest blessing of a pastor is when you're delivering a sermon and all of a sudden the look in the congregation, it's like, whoa! Now I understand. I got it. I got what you've been saying for the last 28 years. It is all coming together now. Wow. And then all of a sudden, you get that one little piece.
Missing puzzle.
And then all of a sudden, everything else just starts coming in there. And it's like, whoa, God, this is really a beautiful picture I'm getting here.
Yeah, that's true.
Of all of this. And that's what I'm saying. It's a responsibility that's here. The next verse in Ephesians chapter 5 is important, okay? In verse number 16.
Redeeming the time because the days are evil.
Okay. Now, redeeming the time says this, okay? You and I have a fixed amount of time. I don't know how much you've got. You don't know how much I've got. But we've got a fixed amount of time. That's what we got. And so what we've got to do is make the best of what we've been given and allotted. It may be, how old are you now, Jose? 70 what? 70 what? 49.
Did you say 90?
75.
Okay, 75. And
81.
81. Okay. And where you at, Jim?
78.
Okay. So right now, you three guys have lived past
The promised amount of time.
That's right, 70s.
the 70.
Yeah.
Or 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth this nation. That's when you guys were back in that time. when all that was happening. But think about it. Okay? If we all got that allotted amount of time, if we all got the 70 years, what did we do with it? That's why sleep is overrated. I need some, but I don't need 24 hours. Okay? That to me is a waste of time. Okay? Because I need to be up and doing, some other things. And so what he's saying, and I keep hitting this point, what he's talking about in redeeming the time says, I've got X amount of time. I've got 24 hours in the day. You've got 24 hours in the day. You've got 7 days in a week. And depending on what month it is, you've got X amount of months in that, or days in that month, and a lot of months in a year. Okay? It's the same for all of us. None of us get any more, none of us get any less.
I'm told I have more than 24 hours in my day.
Somebody lied to you.
It's people that wish they could do what I do in
Oh.
24 hours.
But that's the whole point. And that's what I keep saying, is redeeming the time says that whatever time I'm allotted, I'm going to make the best of that opportunity, whatever it is. If it's a conversation with someone, I'm going to make the best of that conversation. Again, even if I only get 2 minutes with a cashier when I'm ordering food, I'm going to make the best of that 2 minutes. I may never ever see that cashier again, or I might. And the next time, the conversation may go a little bit deeper. I can't tell you how many times I'll walk into somewhere, and honestly, do this. Walk in and order your food. And when they go to take your order, ask them, hey, is there something I can pray for you about? Because we're going to sit down here in just a minute and pray for our food. And when we do, is there something you'd like for me to pray about? About 90% of the people will always give you, yes, there is something in there that you can pray for me about. Very few that I've run into have ever told me no. I don't have anything. And you have no idea. You may never meet that person again. But guess what? You made an opportunity. You made the best of that moment with that person. And that's what he talks about in redeeming the time. Is time is precious. That's the most precious commodity we have, is time. Because we can't get it back. You can lose all of the money that you got in the world and get some more. But you can't get back time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And that's why God says, to redeem the time that's there. We talked about we got to start living what we've learned, and the last thing I want to finish with tonight is we got to pass on what we've learned. For those of you that have kids, or those of you that maybe have got friends that were maybe someone that you're mentoring that might be younger than you or whatever, what do you do with those people? Do you ever share some of the things that you used to do, or some of the things that you've learned? Right?
Tell them not to do it.
Yeah.
There was a kid, Jimmy. When I first moved to Middletown, I went down to, you talking about this, brought this back to me. I went down to First United Methodist Church, and I worked with after school kids club, and so I was working with the kids, and sometimes they come in there and they just have an attitude, and we were tossing this ball around in the room and we were talking, and I asked him to do something. He started screaming and yelling, "I don't want to do that," and stormed out of the room. So Brenda Colhurst asked me, "Debbie, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I just asked him to do something," and she said, "Well, go in there and talk to him." I said, "I don't know what to say to him." She said, "Go in there and talk to him." So I went in there and I talked to him, and I found out what was going on. He was getting bullied and picked on in school. Well, I'd been severely bullied and picked on in school, and so I just kind of shared about my life, what I've been through, and I said, "You know what, Jimmy, sometimes you got to just walk away, and sometimes, but I said, the thing about it is," I said, "Hey, look, I survived it." And I talked to him about God, and after that it was like, Jimmy was my best friend, but he really, you don't know what somebody else is going through till you talk to them.
And I mean, they could be having a bad day. Or again, it could be a certain memory that gets triggered around a certain time. And you don't know that. And it's like, hey, I'm so sorry that you're going through that right now. Can I pray with you? Can I just help you? Just maybe a hug. Just a touch. And sometimes, that's what God needs. Go to Romans chapter 1 and verse number 8. Romans 1:8.
First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because the news of your faith is being reported in all the world.
Okay, so here's what you can be, and so here's what you got to decide. Okay, we give you knowledge. We give you stuff. You're learning all of this. You can become a reservoir. Everybody know what a reservoir is? What is it?
Right behind you.
Right behind me. Okay. right behind me, you pour water in that coffee pot. Okay? Now, let me say this to you. You can pour all the water you want in that coffee pot and never turn it on. And guess what happens to that water? Well, eventually you evaporate. No, if I never turn that coffee pot on, that water stays in that in that reservoir. Okay? But once you turn on the switch, it starts heating up, right? And so now it heats up and it gets to this point. And then when it says, okay, now I'm ready. So I can take and put a pot underneath there and put a pot of water into it and pour into it. Now that no longer becomes a reservoir, it becomes like a funnel or a channel. So whatever's going into that is now coming out. And what I'm saying to you is this, that you need to stop being a reservoir. You need to start being a funnel or channel. As things are being poured into you, it needs to be coming out and sharing with other people. And this is where Paul says, I thank God through Jesus Christ for every one of you, because the news of your faith is spreading throughout the whole world. We poured this into you, and we're finding out that what we're pouring into you is channeling itself out. It's like a funnel. It's going out in directions and stuff. And so just knowing what it is that you're supposed to do is not enough. You got to do it.
Do it. That's right.
As my mom
It is the swish, guys, in Nike that just says, just do it. Just do it.
Hello, this is Pastor Chuck Cotton from Calvary Baptist Church. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking the time out to either listen to our sermon or to watch it on video. We are grateful that you've actually taken the time and hope and pray that it has been a blessing to you as it was to us as we delivered it to our congregation. We ask if you have any questions whatsoever that you email us at pastorchuck@calvarybaptistmiddletown.org, or you could come in and give us a phone call, if you would please, at area code 513-423-7251. I'd like to take this opportunity to also invite you to come to our church and visit us, if you would please. We actually have small groups on Sunday morning starting at 9:30 with our morning worship. Prior to our morning small groups, we also provide donuts with coffee, milk, orange juice, a time for fellowship, get to know each other, have a good time before we actually break out into our small groups for Sunday. Our worship services are uplifting, they're fast moving, and everything in our service is just a fast pace. But we do take time every once in a while to slow down as we feel the Holy Spirit moving, and we never want to hinder it in any way. We also have on Sunday evening, during the school year, we have Awana, and Awana starts with the Puggles, actually from age 2 all the way up through high school. And during that period of time, we also have a worship service. Both of these start at 6 o'clock and end at 7:30. Our Wednesday night, we have a Bible study, which starts at 7. We generally finish about 8:15. We would love for you to come and visit with us. Don't have to dress up. Just come as you are, because to us, it doesn't matter. You're a child of God, a creation of His, and so to us, you're important to everything that we do. Our motto here is building the kingdom one life at a time, and we hope that we have a chance to visit with you, get to know you as you get to know us. So thank you, and may God bless you.